We're looking at an iconic German rifle in this episode of Airsoftology Reviews. That's right, it'll be hard to slip this one past any of you guys and not know what it is. It is the H&K G36. In fact, we're looking at two different versions of the G36 in this review, kind of lumped together because they share so many features. It's kind of good just to kind of put them together if you guys are considering one or the other. So we'll start with the G36C like I have here in my hand, and we'll talk about all the internals and externals. Then we'll talk about what the G36, the full big brother of this gun, has to offer externally, and then we'll move to chrono to see where they differ. So on the outside, the G36, if you guys don't know, is a polymer gun in the real world. So what you're gonna find here is the same options. So everything on a real G36, you're gonna find this polymer is polymer and is metal, with the exception of the flash hider. That's pretty much it. It's the only part here because they do give you a polymer flash hider. So moving on down the grip, you do have a pretty good sized grip here. It's not massive like some of the ones you'll find on the KWA's version of this gun that Elite Force also sells, but it's still plenty big to get a 9.6 battery in here or LiPos, which is what most people are running these days. In fact, I was able to run this on 11.1 LiPo, no problem. If you guys would like to run more of the closer than the 7-volt range, we can do those too. So plenty of room there with the takedown pin to access it. Again, if you guys have never stripped one of these out, pull the pin, slide the grip off, and you're good to go. On the side of this and the bottom, you get 3 rail sections. All 3 of these are metal and they're removable. So if you want to lighten the front up, you don't want to have all the rail space, you're not going to use it, you can ditch these rails no problem. If you want to keep them, they're just fine. Personally, this thing is just begging for a nice little vertical foregrip. I love that. I would put probably a light here on the side, or in my case, a camera when I do my recording. Moving across the top and sticking with the rail theme is a big rail here on this version. This is the C again, the smaller version. It is polymer though, so keep that in mind. Not bad, it's very well made, nice nylon fiber reinforcements. I wouldn't worry about it. Kind of wish they went with metal here. Just my only little gripe on the externals. Would have been nice to see that, but who knows, it may have drove the price of this thing up like an extra 10 bucks or something to add that versus this rail. On top of that rail too, you do have your built-in iron sights, which are actually polymer in this case in the front, and a little metal one here in the back that are set up for windage and elevation adjustment here, all done in the rear with an Allen key. Oh, and if you don't like the little notch sight, don't worry, you can flip it back and you got a nice little hole to look through, so you have 2 loops to easily acquire your target. I'm kind of a bigger fan of the loop here and the loop there. It's easy to line up, they tend to like nest in the middle, then you can use the post there to get your shots. Moving on down the side, you get recessed etch trades like warnings here, nice printed HK trades here on the side on both versions, G36C or G36, and below that a unique serial number and the caliber. On the other side, thank you for listening. If you guys watch enough of these, I always give them or X a hard time when they put that big wall of white text down the side of their gun with all the warnings and stuff. Thank you for etching it into the mag well on this one. I greatly appreciate that because it's such a big block of text. Having it subtle like this is no problem. I still can see it, I can still read it if I need to, but not having that, it's not this big old wall of white text that stands out and kind of breaks up a very attractive, or some people may argue with that number. I like the G36 personally, looking gun. Moving to the mag, it is polymer. It has the posts on the side so you can snap them all together if you get multiples of these. It does fit pretty much every G36 mag on the market, which is nice. So you have to worry about like mag fitment, things like that. The way the mag well is designed on the G36 and these mags here are really well put together. Tons of ammo inside here, 400 rounds for each mag. So you've got a bunch. Actually gives you a big advantage over the M4 users that are usually sitting around that 300 to 330 mark. So having a G36 does have its advantages. Rounding out the externals, you got a side folding stock here, big old button on the side, hinges it down, makes this thing nice and tight. Same goes for the G36, the large one. Even that's a very long rifle with the same kind of handguard on the top and all that, much larger, and the optics built into it. Having that foldable stock lets you bring that big thing back down to size. Also, on all of these versions, before I get to the few differences you'll find on the G36, the big brother, the fire selector. The first thing you'll notice if you go to flip the fire selector, you're like, wait a minute, what is this sitting between safe and semi and full? There's another setting right there between the semi and the full auto, and it shows 2 rounds. So you have 1 round, 2 rounds, and then a bunch of rounds. And it's exactly what you think it is. This has a fully functional electronic trigger in it and a 2-round burst. So if your field does allow it and you can play that instead of doing full auto, wasting your ammo and hosing down your opponents with too many BBs, the 2-round burst is a great option. Rounding out all the externals, grip, nice, comfortable, where you'd find it, motors up inside of there, triggers big and beefy and easy to get to, no problem. And the mag release is right in front of that, so you can just grab it with your offhand, pull the mag out, put it back in. So all the fire controls are gonna be where they're at. Another bonus on this model and the G36, the larger one, is the slide here, the actual bolt on it, if you want to call it that, and the actual racking system. It is blowback, and it's not just a dust cover that blows back. This entire whole feature here, up top, this big, huge hunk of metal and the door, all moves on each shot. So it's got this great clunky sound. Slight little metal, and I wonder if you guys can pick it up on the mic here. Little ka-chunk on the backside adds this wonderful sound when you're firing. All right, before we get to internals, I just swapped guns on you here. This thing, look how long it is. This is the G36, the big brother of the G36C, or the compact version. I want to talk about a few different features on this externally. I know this is running long, guys, but there's two different guns here. This one, you don't get the rail on the top. This one, you don't get the rails on the side. In fact, you don't even get a bottom rail on this. So those are the differences. No rails, because this is really set up for the long game. This is what this one's for. In return, you get a large gap here, easy to hold and carry. You get integrated sights. You have a red dot up top with a switch here on the side and a magnified optic underneath it. So you get a red dot and a magnified optic all in one. The magnifier is not bad. The eye relief isn't terrible, and it's about like a 1.5, maybe a 2 times zoom. I'd probably say closer to that 1.5. So it is not gonna like be incredible zoom to see across the field. But again, remember, this is Airsoft, and having that 1.5 times zoom is more than enough to see your opponents. And of course, like I said, all the features are exactly the same on this, except for that barrel length, and we'll talk about the differences in FPS. But on the front, you do have an integrated bipod. Super cool. Made of polymer on this, on that, and is held in place with the metal bracket here. Has a sling point here if you want to use that on the front, and it allows you to have full bipod functionality. Once it's out in its full position, it does lock into place. It's got little grips here on the feet, so you can kind of dig into the dirt to close it. Little button here, press one down, close it on, and you're good to go. It does swivel in place too, so you can kind of arc and get those shots. So this thing is definitely meant for something in between more of a salting role or even a support role with this bipod, and heck, at the FPS that you're gonna see here in a second, and that nice big adjustable, like huge wheel tie pop-up in here, which I do love so much. It might even be a good, like almost DMR for you. So taking these out to the chrono, saw a huge difference between the two guns, and it makes a lot of sense because both of them have a very specific purpose out here. So looking at the G36C, a nice, comfortable 330, 340 feet per second out of the box. This thing's gonna be usable pretty much anywhere you play. Also with that crisp internal MOSFET, the MOSFET that powers that 2-round bursts and all of it, those semi-auto shots are so good, and the rate of fire doesn't fall off, and I think it's because of that MOSFET that's included in there. You're seeing a very healthy rate of fire even with that big blowback system. Now moving over to the G36, the big brother, the FPS game changes totally, and you're looking at some huge numbers out there in the lower 400s, like 430 feet per second. That thing has a lot of kick, so that might be a bit above your field limits. But here's my advice to you on that one. Because it has that bipod, because it has that huge, like the scope built into it and that huge frame, and can probably serve as a DMR, you might be able to pull off either a support weapon or, like I said, a DMR role. So having that in there, and then you should be good for most outdoor fields as long as you follow minimum engagement distance. If not, don't worry, there's a quick change spring inside of these, and you can raise or lower the feet per second. So if that 430 is a little too hot, don't worry, you can bring it down a little bit to get it under 400 if that's your field limits. So guys, you've been holding off for something that's a little different. You don't want to be like another M4 guy that everyone else has, and you want a gun with a fully functional electronic 2-round burst that's not gonna destroy your wallet. Take a look at the G36 series. The C here, the small one, perfect outdoor gun, even though it's small, good accuracy at range, and a really good FPS. Or if you want to really keep the heads down, go for the big brother, the full-blown G36. And if you guys want to learn more, as always, I have links down in the description below for both of these guns. You can kind of learn pricing and all the specs and features, and pick one up if you guys want to for yourself.
As always, thanks for tuning in. If you're not currently a subscriber, click on the logo on the bottom right or in the description and you'll always be in the know. Plus, if you like what you saw in this video and want to learn more, I've got a link down there as well. And if you haven't had your Airsoft fix just yet, click in the videos on the right or use the info button at the top of the screen for more. And as the saying goes, everyone has an opinion, and I do want to hear yours. So give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down on this video, comment, and share.